Hi guys, when the new government took over, their narrative was that the situation was terrible and difficult decisions had to be made. The Treasury looked at cuts in different areas, and cabinet ministers were told that savings in their departments would have to be made. The NHS, of course, was exempt from that. However, the amounts recovered when talking about these difficult policies was really buttons in the grand scheme of things, and they carried a massive political cost. The two-child benefit cap change cost the party a number of MPs and public support. The change to winter fuel allowance called into question the values of the Labour Party, which resulted in them losing a by-election and lots of council seats. So it appears the government, instead of before the local elections, is now engaging in a kite-flying exercise about a U-turn. The Health Secretary Wes Streeting was asked about this, but tried to dodge.
The winter fuel payment cut saved only $2 billion, and it had been going to 11 million elderly people. I guess the additional thing that we now know is it came at a great political cost as well. Is it worth re-looking at things in light of that cost-benefit analysis of the particular decision?
Well, I wouldn't be close to those sorts of discussions at this stage ahead of spending review and budget later this year as well. But what I do want to reassure people is that in terms of last Thursday's local election results, we have noticed, we have got the message, and I think what voters are telling us is that unless they see the change that was promised delivered, unless they feel the change in their lives, they will look for change elsewhere.
Why do they keep saying, we get the message, and then start talking about something else? The message is, people are not happy with the winter fuel change. People are not happy with the two-child benefit cap. They're not happy with what you're doing. You can talk about the positives, and there are a lot of positive things that the government is doing, but the public are not talking about those things. They're talking about the negatives.
And that's why the Prime Minister's pushing all of us in government to go further and faster at delivering the results that the country want. That's why what we're doing on the NHS is so important. It's one of the top issues facing the government. But beyond the announcements we're making today about GPs and the progress we're making on waiting lists, you look at some of the other issues. On cost of living, for example, I froze prescription charges because I recognise cost of living as an issue. On border security, Yvette Cooper's deported 24,000 people since she became Home Secretary, which is a big increase on previous years, and there's an immigration white paper still to come. So on those priorities of the public, the government is taking action. A lot done, so much more to do, of course, but we're putting our foot down on the accelerator.
It's clear the winter fuel payment was a priority for the people as well. Just to come back to that, I mean, there was also talk of, in fact, rather than reversing the decision, tweaking it and increasing the threshold over which pensioners no longer get it, from £11,500 to something higher. Would that be a sensible rationalisation of where we are at the moment?
Well, I'm not aware of those discussions if they're taking place. I mean, these are the sorts of decisions that are taken collectively, so I'm not going to speculate, however much you invite me to, on some of the speculation in today's newspapers.
Okay. This is, as I said before, is a kite-flying exercise. Put out to the media the idea that the government are considering a U-turn or tweaking some of this. Why didn't they do this before the local elections? They knew that this was a deeply unpopular policy. Like, if I have said before, and I keep saying this, they should U-turn, but they need to be open about that. Keir Starmer or a government minister should come out and say, look, we got it wrong. This was a mistake. What we're going to do is we're going to cancel this policy. Completely scrap it. Go back to the way things were before. And we'll deal with how we're going to pay for it in another way. But that's what they need to do. They need to U-turn because they have lost so much support over this. What was the political advantage in sticking to their guns, in doubling down? There was none. The opposite. It was a massive cost. And what it did was it called into question, and this is really important to remember, it called into question the actual values of the Labour Party. People were saying, what does the Labour Party actually represent today? Because people have a perception, whether it's true or not, but the perception in the past was that Labour was on the side of workers and it was on the side of the most vulnerable in society. And these changes to PIP and the winter fuel allowance destroyed that. So then what does the Labour Party represent? People have an idea of what Nigel Farage and Reform UK represent. They have somewhat of a vision of, or an idea of what the Conservatives represent. They know what the Greens represent. They know what the SNP represent. What does Labour represent today? For a lot of people, it's about punching down. It's about punishing the most vulnerable in society. You need to convince people that that's not the case. You have to U-turn. There would be a short political cost in U-turning, but the advantage would be great in my opinion. I think people would actually have respect for the party if they said, we got it wrong. We made a massive mistake, but we're going to fix that. Because you don't hear that from politicians. It would be actually refreshing. Now, tweaking it is actually probably going to be worse, because what it's going to do is it's going to show that you're not interested in actually dealing with the real problem. And it's just going to add fuel to the fire. It's going to add more criticism to you. It's going to allow other parties to say, see, they're not really all that interested in fixing this problem. They're not really interested in listening. They're just interested in gimmicks. And it will be seen as a gimmick. Oh, a little tweak here or there. It's not actually going to resolve the true problem. And it will just, once again, add fuel to the fire. You need to come up with a vision. You need to say, this is what we actually represent. And I think a U-turn on a number of policies, while in the short term there will be some political cost, it would allow the party to recover.